So what's going on, everyone? This is Archery Customs, and today we have the Walking Dead special. So today we'll be testing two things from The Walking Dead. One involves Daryl and his crossbow, and the other involves Rick and his hatchet. So before we get too far into this video, this may or may not contain spoilers depending on how much of the show you've seen. If you've seen the regular Walking Dead, the crossbow scene is fine. Now, there's a new show called The Ones Who Live. If you haven't seen any of it, I suggest you go watch it, or at least the first episode, or this will spoil it. Now, this is a spoiler alert. I'm putting it up now. Spoiler alert. If you continue in this video, it's 100% your fault that this got spoiled. And I haven't technically seen the episode. I've only seen the clip, and I want to test it. So, here we go. Okay, so the first myth involves Daryl and his crossbow. I'll put the scene up right now. Okay, so in the scene, Daryl tries to shoot a walker wearing a face shield. And I have a face shield and a crossbow. I want to see if the arrow would actually go through the face shield. When I seen the scene, I was skeptical. Now, it may bounce right off, I'm not sure. But we're going to be testing this powerful crossbow and a slightly weaker crossbow, and just to see if it will go through. Alright, this is the last spoiler warning if you haven't seen the new show. So, from The Ones Who Live, there's a scene in the first episode where Rick actually chops his hand off. Now, he uses a hatchet, and if you look closely, I won't put the scene up, but I'll put an image from the scene up right now. So if you look closely, he's wearing a cuff, and attached to the cuff is a steel cable. Now, you have various sizes of steel cables, and different ways they're made. Now, in the scene, it looked to be about this thick. This is 1/4-inch steel cable. It will hold a lot of weight, maybe 10,000 pounds. I don't know. It's going to hold a lot of weight. Now, to hold back a human, you don't really need that. So if they were to be using a smaller one in real life, you could look at something like this. Now, I'm going to test both because the one in the show was thick, and if it will chop through that, it'll chop through either one. Also, I'm going to test another aspect of the myth. Right here, you can see the little current coupler thingy, and this is actually made of aluminum. If you could chop through this easier than you can the cable, then that's also another possibility. Alright, so now I've gave everyone the rundown, let's go ahead and test these. Alright, so if you guys remember in the show, Daryl used two crossbows. First, he used the Horton Scout 125, and then he used the Striker 380. Now, my recurve right here is about the same power as the first crossbow, and then the other one is slightly more powerful than the Striker. But they're close enough to test for this myth. So here are the arrows. Just like in the show, it only has a regular field point, and then we have a Z87 rated face shield. Alright, this is the weaker crossbow. Alright, so the crossbow that is weaker than the crossbow Daryl was using at the prison went straight through. It's like it wasn't even there. So we're going to use the more powerful one over there anyways, but yeah, it probably would have went through. Alright, so I wanted to point something out. Having a weaker crossbow like that may be better in an apocalypse situation for two reasons. One, this has cams and cables, a bunch of complicated things that can go wrong with the bow, and it also requires more maintenance. Now, two, this crossbow has a draw weight of 200 pounds. Now, yeah, you probably can't cock it back a lot of times quickly, easily with just your hands. So because of that, you have to use a rope cocker. Now, you can have a less powerful crossbow, obviously, that can do just enough damage for what you need. I'm just sitting here imagining a zombie chasing me, trying to get my rope cocker out. That would be terrible. Alright, this is the more powerful crossbow test. So yeah, again, it went straight through it, and it went into the box, and there's also a 2x4 stud, and it went through the stud too. Yeah, so I gotta call this one busted. Even if the face shield was 3 times as thick, it still would go straight through. Now on to the next myth. Alright, so we have our hatchet and cable. I cleaned the edge up just a little bit. It's not sharp, but it's just clean. Alright, so if you look closely in the scene, he was in woods like this. And now why am I pointing it out? Why is that important? I'm gonna show you guys. So the way I see it, if Rick was actually running through woods, he actually had 3 options, not just one, chopping his hand off. Okay, for instance, if you're going to chop the cable, you could chop it where? On dirt? Okay. Now you also have tree roots. You could put the cable on the tree root and chop it there. I'm thinking having a good back would allow it to chop easier. That way it's not just bending in the dirt. And then option number 3, if there's not any obviously exposed tree roots, you could put the cable up against a tree and then chop against it. So first up, we're chopping on regular dirt. Small cable first. Three chops? Nope. Second up, larger cable. Nope. Alright, for our second substrate, we got a tree root. We're doing the small cable first. Alright, now the bigger cable. It took some damage, but it didn't go through. Say like in the clip where the cable was put together with a coupler, would it be easier to cut through the aluminum coupler? We'll see. No, honestly, it's easier to cut through the cable. Alright, so lastly we have the tree. Small cable first. Honestly, I have to say the tree root worked better. Alright, we're going to try the large cable next. Nothing. And the verdict is plausible. Now, it didn't chop through the big cable, but it did chop through the small cable. So if you have the right thing to chop on, and say your hatchet is fairly sharp, it can be done. Chopping the coupler, the crimp piece, does not work at all, so that wouldn't work. So say the cable was a realistic size, you could probably chop through it. Now the one they used in the show, given the circumstances, no. But I'm gonna say plausible, because it could happen. Now, if you ever find yourself in that situation, these are cable cutters. It chops through them like it's nothing. That's amazing. But thanks everyone. Like, comment, subscribe, you know, whatever. More videos coming. And yeah, that's it. Well, that was impossible.